Hello and welcome back to another video for Final Fantasy XIV with me, Meoni. Today we're talking about win rates in Final Fantasy XIV's PvP mode Crystalline Conflict. Now this is something that came to light in a recent Walk with Yoshi P livestream. That's a live stream where Yoshi P walks around different servers and does different content with people, depending on what's the most current thing. This time it was PvP centered and he did a lot of PvP with other people that were watching the stream on the Japanese data centers. This is the actual information we got from this then. The first thing was win rates. This was quite unexpected. I didn't think they would talk about this, but it's quite interesting to look at. So individually on screen here, you have each of the 3 roles in the game in PvP and their win rates, if they're likely to actually succeed and actually win that match or not. So essentially this first slide with the orange kanji marker at the top, this represents everything. This represents every region combined into one. So this is your generalization worldwide, your world stats of win rates per job. Now, because not everybody speaks Japanese, thank you to Aluna Minori and the rest of the Reddit team on the subreddit for translating this. It's incredibly helpful. So the first one is Paladin, then it goes to Warrior, then Dark Knight, then Gunbreaker. That's the tank setup. Then for Healer, we have White Mage first, then Scholar, then Astrologian and Sage. And the DPS is in this order: Monk, Dragoon, Ninja, Samurai, Reaper, Bard, Machinist, Dancer, Black Mage, Summoner, and Red Mage at the end there. So you'll see, for example, we have Red Mages at 50.9% of the time they actually have a win in Crystalline Conflict. You'll notice that a lot of this seems very balanced. A lot of the jobs do seem to be pretty much the same win rate. It seems to be pretty much a 50-50 affair globally of if you actually, when you enter a Crystalline Conflict, if you will win or not. That's quite surprising. But the only disparity I can see are, well, what's over 50%? 54% for a healer there. So that healer in particular is Scholar, surprisingly. So Scholar is probably the best healer to get a win in Crystalline Conflict, statistically. Is that because of everybody focusing immediately on a White Mage because of previous power issues that the job had? It's very interesting, is it? Very interesting. Also, we have 52% for a Paladin. 52.9, nearly 53% of the time they win. That's pretty good as well. But again, nothing's really drastic. There's no 60% on here. The closest we've got to that is Scholar, which is very surprising. But now we've looked at everything in the world, now we can actually start looking at this individually. So this next slide with the red marker at the top here on the top left, this actually represents Japan. This is the Japanese slide. So you'll notice things are slightly different here, and you'll start to see a difference in what people play. Although majoritively it's quite similar. You'll notice that the biggest difference here is that, you know, there's a lot less tanks on this list, for example, and really they kind of lean a different direction, but not too much. It seems to be fairly straightforward, fairly similar. The only thing I will say is that Scholar rating is still very high. There's a lot of people who play Scholar on Japanese Crystalline Conflict. In fact, way more than is represented on the global list there. And in fact, so much more of Paladin as well. So Paladin and Scholar certainly seem to be some of the most popular jobs in PvP. So that gives you a good idea of maybe trying those out. If we were then to compare that with North America, I'm sure there's lots of people who are interested in that. You'll notice there are a lot less tanks actually taking place in terms of Paladins, but a lot more of warriors in PvP, right? Nearly an entire % more than Japanese servers. Very interesting, and even less Dark Knights. I guess it comes down to job popularity at the end of the day. A lot less Scholars and a lot more White Mages. You see that they're up to 48.9% White Mages, where In Japan, that was 46%, so quite a few more white mages. And in terms of DPS, it's mostly the same in places. There are slight disparities. And then finally, we have the European slide, which really doesn't seem that different than the North American one. A lot of the figures look very similar, although you'll notice that there are a lot less Dark Knights in general on Europe compared to America. There's, obviously only 48% compared to their 50%. But yeah, most of all, the biggest differences to the DPS, as far as I can tell, is in the amount of summoners. There are a lot less people who play summoner in PvP on Europe than they do on North America, which is at 50%. All these numbers mean is that the actual game mode's quite well balanced in places in terms of win rates. You remember, this is if they win or not necessarily if there is any, disparity. You'll notice that things like Black Mage, which is the third in from the bottom, that's quite significantly more people in Japan play Black Mage than anything else, which is likely due to Yoshi P and the buffs that it had before, but it's not miles ahead of anything else. In fact, it is one of the, top 3 or top 4 DPS in PvP by the looks of it in terms of win rate, but that's pretty much all it is. Let me know if you think any of those numbers seem off comparatively to what you experience. Perhaps you have a really bad time in PvP against white mages and you think 49%, like 47%, that seems strangely low, or is it actually accurate depending on how much you play it? I love PvP. I think it's fascinating to look at this stuff, especially now they're giving much more care and attention to the modes. It's a lot more fun, surprisingly. But yes, so this is the win rate for each job in Crystalline Conflict. So this is only PvP. They did stress at the time that this has got nothing to do with PvE, so they have no intentions of revealing any information about PvE related statistics like this, but they seem to be confident of releasing stuff like this. They did actually mention a few other tidbits worth putting in here. Apparently the PvP job adjustments for 6.2 have already been decided, so they're already in the back end of the testing at the moment. So when 6.2 comes out, there will be PvP job adjustments, basically to tie up a lot of these numbers. I guess they're going off of the win rates more than anything. Yoshi P expressed interest in conducting an official tournament in the future once everything calms down. So basically, keep your eyes open for a potential tournament of some kind. That's going to be exciting. To expand on the news about adventurer portraits, this is the information I have of 6.2. They did mention this because obviously it's PvP related. For now, they're going to be focusing on instance dungeons. That addition will be in 6.3. So we got our information that the portrait system is being applied to a PvE setting as well, but it's not going to be until 6.3, which is understandable. They want to focus on 6.2 stuff first and leave all of the other stuff for the future, because that system is cool and you're going to see a lot more of it, more customization for your character's appearance to other people. And finally, adventurer portraits will be easier to create and easier to understand, he says. This is in reference to the 6.2 live letter where they talked about redesigning the plates to be, this is a PvP thing, this is a PvE thing, and being able to set things to different sort of lists. So that's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in regards to the PvP changes based on these win rates and other information that they have. Hopefully they don't nerf anything that you play too drastically, but I personally really quite enjoy playing a bit of Dragoon in PvP in a minute. It might not be the most powerful, but it's so much fun. It really is. I think they're in a really good place damage wise. Really enjoy it. Anyway, much love, enjoy the rest of your day, let me know what you think, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.